Hey guys, I'm Ray, and today we are streaming blacksmithing and also demolition noises, apparently. Uh, so earlier, they told us that they were going to get rid of the two houses on this side of the shop and my house. And so today we woke up to some really loud noises, and they have a backhoe over there, and they're destroying the two houses. So they are starting to clean up the debris now. So if you hear any weirdness, like loud noises, bumps, anything like that, or if I act really strange, like startled, that's probably why. They may have like dropped something or, done something a little bit off. So I don't think I should be able to hear much of it with my headphones on. And I don't think that you guys should be able to hear it. But yeah, they are destroying the houses on that side of me today. Weird. Apparently, they're gonna turn it into tennis and like squash courts or something like that. So very interesting, but also a little bit abrupt and unnerving to wake up to them destroying two houses on that side. So, oh well. Okay, so today, or I guess, today we're going to continue working on our spatula. We started flattening out the blade of it, and we got a little bit or we got started with it, but we didn't finish it. So we've got a little ways to go. And we are going to flatten this out, make it real nice and thin so we can scrape up those burgers and stuff. And then we're going to lengthen out the neck and twist up the handle today. That is really all I have planned today. And then Wednesday, we will be doing our grill tongs. We're doing a full grill set this week, or last week and this week. So now, and then Friday, we will be going to Quad State. So there will be no stream Friday, but we will be streaming on Saturday. So welcome to today's stream. Let's get started by turning on the forge. See if I can do it before the ad starts. There we go. Exciting, exciting. So we are currently using the big forge because when we start widening out the spatula blade, it is going to take a little bit more room than the mailbox has to offer. So we're going to do the big forge. Hey, Dr. Optimal. Welcome to the stream. You know what? I totally forgot to change the stream title. Let me do that real fast. That is the one thing I forgot to do today. I'm sorry, guys. Part 2.5. Well, part 2.5. Part 1 was supposed to be doing the grill fork. Alright, so let's turn up our Twitch activity feed. Alrighty. So, once the spatula heats up, we're going to get started. We're going to finish the spatula. Like I said, that's really all I have planned to do today. There may be a chance that we might start on our grilled tongs today, but I'm not it's not looking good yet. I think it's going to take us some time to stretch out the blade of the spatula. I didn't cut the material for the tongs yet. If we get that far, maybe I will cut the stock and then we'll start working on it. So, the ad is starting soon, I guess. But yeah, how was you guys' weekend? Mine was pretty exciting. We started putting together all of the pieces that we ordered for the van that we need to put together for, wow. Thank you so much for that sub. It doesn't say who subscribed though. I have no idea why my activity feed is not going through. Let's see. We've got all of them. I don't know why it's... What's your average forge time like? 2 to 3 hours. Oh, it was Corwin. Thank you so much, Corwin. I finally got that notification from your subscription. So I normally stream between 2 and 3 hours. Usually it's about 2.5 hours in a session, because I have a chronic illness. And so at about the 2.5 hour mark, I start getting really tired. So before I got sick, I could go for as long as I ever wanted. So I could do an 8-hour session if I needed to, you know, with like a couple breaks here and there for like lunch and things like that. But right now I'm only doing about 2.5 to 3 hour forging sessions. So I am trying very hard to get this spatula complete today so that we can start working on the tongs on Wednesday. Afternoon, Corwin. Hey, Mahalo. Welcome to the stream, guys. I'm doing pretty good. I am a little bit shaken, but that's really because I woke up this morning and found out that they are destroying the 2 houses on that side of me. And we are going to become the next door neighbors of a health club, I guess. So the health club is already there and has been for several years, probably about 6 or 7 years. And so they are expanding. So they bought the 2 houses next to us, and they tore them down this morning. So if you guys hear any weird noises, they're cleaning up all of the debris. They brought a backhoe to kind of crush the houses. If you're interested in looking at what that looks like, I did post a short video on Instagram of them using the backhoe to like crush the 2nd floor of this house. So weird. That's still a long time to be smacking metal. I hope you're doing well though. Yeah, I'm actually getting more stamina back by streaming for you guys, and it's been doing me so much good. I actually end up feeling better after I'm done streaming than I do when I start oftentimes. Did the backhoe wake me up? No, the backhoe itself did not wake me up, but it started about 10 minutes after I did wake up. So I wasn't completely awake when we heard these like loud boom sound. And it was them using the backhoe on the first house. It was so weird. But yeah, like I said, I posted a short video on Instagram of them crushing the 2nd floor. of this house. And so if you're interested, go check it out. That could have been starting, yes. Welcome in, Bluesy. Welcome to the stream. So yes, today we are continuing to work on our spatula. Just to reiterate, I guess, we're going to widen out the blade of it so that we can scrape up our burgers, because our steak flipper and our, okay, they're moving the dump truck. I'm sorry. Like I said, if you see me like look off in that direction, there's a window, and so something crazy is going on. They have a semi-sized dump truck full of debris, and they're driving through the grass out there in order to get onto, okay, now they're on the road, finally. Anyway, sorry about that. It's a little bit distracting. So anyway, we are going to be widening out the blade of our spatula so we can flip burgers, because our steak flipper and our grill fork aren't going to do amazingly well for grilling burgers. Maybe hot dogs, and definitely steak and chicken, but like fish and burgers, they're a little bit more fall aparty, so we definitely want to add a spatula to our grill setup. Excuses, I know. That's pretty wild. Is that neighborhood zoned as multi-use? I think that area now is, but I live on a really busy, like, main drag. We have the library, we have the town hall, we have a couple activity facilities, the fire department as well as the police department are all along my main road. So yeah, there's a lot of businesses and things all along this road interspersed in the neighborhood. Like I said, we're on the main drag, so like the speed limit out front is like 35, and most people drive 45 down it. So, it's relatively normal, I guess. Although it's not normal to wake up to destroyed houses. Ray hears random noise. Squirrel? Nope. Dump truck. Exactly. So I should be good, because I've got my headphones on and they're pretty good at blocking out most noises. So I shouldn't be distracted by the noises unless something huge happens. But when something walks through there or moves in outside this window, it just catches my eye. My street is residential except for the hospital across the street. At least it wasn't your own house being destroyed. Oh, I would be so mad if it was my house. Because in all technicality, in the United States, you can, like, the city or the state or even the federal government can kind of seize your house. They do have to give you a little bit of money for that, but, eminent domain, they can just, like, kick you out of your house, give you whatever they're going to give you, and then you have to find a new house. So I am very glad that I get to keep this place, because the housing market in my area is insane. I am also lucky that there is an entire lot between my house and the house next door. So even during their destruction of that house, I didn't really have to worry about debris hitting here, even if they were to have used something other than a backhoe to destroy it. So we're pretty good here. I like this house. I am not excited about a bunch of people just like walking back and forth over here, because it's going to be like tennis courts and stuff. But I mean, I'll learn to live with it. It'll be fine. I guess we don't get another dog yet. Let me check our steel. Looks like it's starting to get pretty hot. We could probably start doing some heat. Free pickleballs in your yard. Yes. And tennis balls. All right, let's do our first heat. All right, and because it is so thick, we are going to kind of keep it really hot. We're not gonna take as long as on our heat so that we can keep it nice and hot and moving really quickly. So that's where we are right now. Once again, what we are trying to get to is I want the top profile to look like an hourglass. So I want it to be real nice and thin along here and thicker on the edges. Maybe a buffet will open up nearby to take advantage of the increased gym clientele. I don't know that I want a restaurant over here. That would be very tempting, just to use the restaurant all the time, especially if it's a good restaurant, you know? We're trying to save money so that we can get more shop equipment and better, like, sound and stuff. So spending money on a restaurant is not conducive to that. Maybe we'll start with food trucks. Maybe. We do have a couple gas stations at the end of the road on that direction, and a lot of people will walk down there and get like snacks and things like that. But you do have to cross on an overpass. Right on the other side of the health club is like the interstate, and so there's just like this little overpass. It's only a 2-lane, so it's not a huge overpass, and it's not actually an exit, so it's pretty safe. But yeah, you can actually walk to a gas station to get snacks and things. It seems like every time a new Planet Fitness opens up, a buffet opens up next door. See, this health place is it's owned by the city. So it's like, it's not privately owned. It's more like a activity facility. It's also our polling place. So like when we go to vote, all we have to do is walk over there, and that's where we vote. So, I mean, it's not too bad. We don't get like the huge gym bros and stuff walking all over the place, but there are a lot of like intramural sport teams and stuff. So there are quite a few like kids that go back and forth. So yeah. So like I said earlier, on Friday of this week, we will not be streaming. We're pushing that stream back to Saturday. We will be streaming at the normal time of 2:30 Eastern. And I will actually be in Eastern time at that point. So it'll be pushed back for me, but it will be the same time, you know, as always, I guess. But yeah, because having the same time, it just makes things easier, I guess. But yeah, it will be live from Quad State. So we will be going through, seeing some of the demos, looking at the tailgate sale. I have a couple of segments that I'd like to do. And I'll let you guys know about those on Saturday, you know, if I can organize them. and it should be a really fun time. But because we are going to Ohio for that, that is quite a bit of traveling. We are planning on coming home on Sunday, but I normally get a little bit tired when we are traveling like that, so there is a chance that I will be canceling Monday's stream as well. I'm going to do my very, very best not to do that, but when I get too tired, I may need that extra day to rest. So we shall see. I'll keep you guys posted on that. I'm hoping that I can stream just like normal, but I have to listen to my body. Are you talking or taking your hammer to see the sights too? I mean, maybe. I might take my hammer. I haven't decided. I will probably actually take this hammer. This is the hammer that we made here on stream, and I kind of want to get some opinions on it. So I might actually take this guy, or I think I'm planning on taking this guy, and see if anybody has any suggestions on how to make it better, kind of critique my work. And then we'll come back, and I do at some point this winter want to make another hammer. But the hammer I want to make, the next hammer I want to make is a smaller hammer. I'd like to make a bowl raising hammer for doing sheet steel and like copper and things like that, for turning flat sheet into bowls. Hammer point of view, hammer's day out video coming. I mean, maybe, definitely, that sounds like a fun video. We already have like 4, maybe 5 videos that are already planned to be coming out about the conference. So look for those on YouTube. I've got a couple of product reviews and a travel video on the van, and then obviously we're going to do a couple interviews and the big video about the overview of the conference. So those are the planned videos. I'll kind of keep you guys posted on what's coming out when. Let's do another heat. I do want to finish this guy before the stream is over. We're starting to get that hourglass shape. Exciting, exciting. Bubba, 137478, you hit like a girl. I do hit like a girl. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. But I mean, I suppose that could be interpreted as bad. I don't know. No, I was just playing. That's good. So yeah, like I said, we are focusing in on the center of the blade. That way we leave a big chunk of metal on either side so that it grows further. The thinner the outside edges are, the more crispy they kind of get, and they tend to not grow as far and also start cracking. So focusing in on the middle is going to allow us to increase the width of our blade. I wouldn't want to test it. I mean, right now I'm not using a hugely full blow. I'm using a more of a shoulder-based blow as opposed to a full body blow. Mostly because I want a little bit of extra control. I want to make sure that my hammers hit the steel exactly where I want them to. An errant blow can kind of lead to some issues. So I want a little bit more extra control. A forging hammer blow, though, is a little bit different than either framing hammer blows as well as silversmithing hammer blows. A silversmithing hammer blow, you kind of rely on your thumb for control. If I were to use my thumb like this when I was doing a forging blow, I would injure my thumb very quickly. And if I'm, for a framing blow, you kind of want to hang on to the handle of your hammer very well, because you want to make sure that there's no bounce. If you're allowing your framing hammer to bounce back at you, the claw section could get you, and that would be unpleasant. I want the bounce back on my forging blows. So when I'm holding my hammer, I'm really giving the most pressure between my pointer finger and my thumb. And I'm actually getting a little bit of a whipping motion every blow, kind of like this. Gives it a little bit of extra power. You know what? I forgot to turn on my record function on my main camera, on my close-up camera. I tell you, the demolition happening over there, it's kind of half on my brain. It is super, super humid today. It rained all weekend this weekend for here, or for us. And so while it's cool, I still feel really sticky. So I've got the fans blowing on me, and hopefully I don't start sweating prematurely. Where are you located? I am located within an hour of St. Louis, Missouri. I'm not going to pinpoint exactly where because I don't want to dox myself, but within an hour of St. Louis, Missouri. And so, Midwestern United States, or I guess that's the region of the United States. Even though I feel like I'm a little bit easter than the western portion of the United States, it's really weird the way that's regionally denoted. It's causing squirrel syndrome. It definitely is. But yeah, so we are about 6 hours from the Quad State blacksmithing convention, and that is in Ohio. So I mean, I guess you can kind of triangulate that a little bit, but I am giving estimates, so Wow, Kiri is rating. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. Whoa, as I trip over my advice. Welcome to the stream, guys. Hi, I'm Ray. We're stream blacksmithing. Today we are working on a grill spatula. As you can see right here, it is for being able to flip hamburgers and steaks and things like that. Right now we are focusing on widening out the blade. So I've got a cross peen hammer here, and we are using the cross peen section so that we can get some perpendicular growth, perpendicular to the face of the hammer. So welcome to the stream. I'll do a raid and run today. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And have fun or sleep well, you know. Thank you so much for that raid. Kiri is a goldsmith and a silversmith, a jeweler, and she streams making jewelry projects. So go ahead and check out Kiri. She's amazing, and she's from Germany, and I love her work. It's great. I am always up for answering questions. So if there's anything that you guys would love or would like to know about what we're doing or me or the project, let me know. Thank you so much, Wombat Hole, for that follow 1 minute ago. Thank you so much. Welcome to the community. I hope you have fun. I have fun here. Greetings, OMG Pete. How long have I been smithing? So I started blacksmithing in 2010. I did take a 5-year break after 2020 because I got really sick, and it's taken me that long to kind of get back into shape where I can come out to the shop and forge. So we've been forging for about 8 to 9 months, and well, actually, you know what? At this point, we've been forging for 10 months, and I'm getting stronger, and we're able to forge for longer, so and more elaborate projects. So this is great. So 10 years of forging, but I'm a little rusty. From one smithy to another, nice. Yeah, I have a lot of fun. We are about to do an ad break. I'm going to do another heat before that ad starts. Hopefully I can finish it in time. I think we've got about 2 minutes. So let's do this. Speed heat. All right, starting to get a lot of thinning out in that center area. We are keeping all of our width and our meat on those edges so that we can draw them out further. Getting a decent amount of width though. Exciting, exciting. Why are you using that side of the hammer? So this side of the hammer, when I hit a piece of material, it will stretch the metal in all directions in the round area of this head. Well, on this side of the hammer, the metal stretches perpendicular to the face of this hammer more than it does parallel. So I want to stretch the material outwards. I want to widen out our spatula blade. So that's why we're using the cross peen section of the hammer. How fast can you make an arrowhead? But that was to another chatter. I myself I have never actually made a arrowhead. I imagine that it would take around the same amount of time as it would take to make a leaf, because I would imagine that the same techniques could be used for an arrowhead that are used for a leaf. So I would imagine that it would probably take me, I would say, about 30 minutes because I've never done one before. I don't make them. I just buy them. I don't blacksmith, but I would like to. I will always say it's never too late to start blacksmithing. I mean, I know people who have started blacksmithing at all different ages, young, old, very young. It can be learned by just about anyone. However, as I say that, I have to preface that by saying, find a blacksmith in your area. There are blacksmiths all over the United States, all over Europe, all over the world. You can find a blacksmith near you, and if you don't know where one is, check out the ABANA website, ABANA, and that's the Artist Blacksmith Association of North America. They have find a affiliate link, and they have affiliates all across the world. You can find a blacksmith or a blacksmith association near you, wherever you are. Yeah, I think the socket is difficult. For arrows, watch a few YouTubes. Corwin started at 42. Need some money for tools or DIY, yeah. I did bookmark that site when you told me that, by the way. Thank you. You're welcome. And we are on ad time, so I might go through those again just to make sure that you guys are able to hear me. I'm not sure if you guys are watching the ads or not, because there's like the full screen ads, but then there are also the ads in the upper right hand corner, the little ones. So yeah, I can go over that again if you guys need me to. So we should be able to start another heat once we get the ad finished up. We're getting a lot of heat because our spatula blade is getting thin. So the thinner the piece of steel, the quicker it heats up again. Building a coal forge is pretty cheap. Black Bear Forge has a couple cheap setup options on YouTube. I never watch ads. They might play, but I don't watch. Yeah, if you've got Twitch Turbo, then you don't have to watch the ads. But I don't know who's got it and who doesn't, you know? So I try to make sure that I wait for my heats and my major explanations so that they're not during the middle of heats. Of ads. So, like I said, ABANA, there are affiliates in all across the world. You can find the British Blacksmith Association, the Australian Blacksmith Association. Those are the ones that I myself have seen on that website. I'm sure there are other European Union, Africa and Asian blacksmith associations that you can also get involved with, or in Asia too. So there are blacksmiths around. We are still available to, we're very nice. We like teaching people. So if you're interested in learning blacksmithing, find a blacksmith. They will help you. They'll get you set up. But yeah, you can start blacksmithing for very, very cheap. Corwin is correct. Black Bear has an amazing coal forge design video. I also have a video on my YouTube about when we made our forge. So it kind of gives you an idea of how to design it. I don't go through every single step, but Black Bear is a little bit more thorough. So check those videos out if you are interested in that topic. Or go to a Renaissance fair to watch in real life. Yeah, there are a lot of Renaissance fairs do have blacksmiths that do smith live. They're also usually very happy to answer questions. Like I said, I'm always up to answer questions, so yeah. I'm out of water already. Goodness. All right, let's do another heat. Once this heat's over, I think I'm going to go a different angle so you guys can kind of see a little bit more of what I'm doing. we've got a little bit of a divot in there. So I want to kind of straighten that out a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to hammer it on its edge. Not too hard. I just want to correct that weird divot. Straighten that out so that both sides are parallel. Alrighty. Straighten that out just a little bit and more heat. I used to demonstrate at the St. Louis Renaissance Fair. I did it for 1 year, I think. And it was a blast, you know. Working on a traditional setup, it was a little different than what I'm normally used to. Normally, I'm a gas forge user, but using coal, it's a different experience. It's a lot of fun. I have also demoed for the Boy Scouts, as well as the Society for Creative Anachronism. So I love doing demonstrations. It's a lot of fun. I love answering questions and, helping people out. I am going to get some more water because I am out. It's kind of warm here still. I cannot wait for true fall. Right now, we're kind of in a false summer. It started to cool down a little bit again, but it was super, super hot all last week. We got some rain this weekend, so we're cooling off a little bit, but right now we're like super humid. Thirsty work. It definitely is thirsty work. So I am always incredibly careful about keeping hydrated while here in the smithy. I do actually forge in the dead of summer, when it is over 32 degrees Celsius, and it gets well into the 100 Fahrenheit in here, 120 Fahrenheit somewhere in there. So I don't know. I'd say in the 40s Celsius. Super, super hot. But it's incredibly important to keep hydrated while you are blacksmithing, because if you don't, you could develop kidney stones, and those are never pleasant. Once you get a kidney stone, they always develop. So flushing your kidneys out with lots and lots of liquid is the only way to prevent that. That's why I drink so much water while I'm on stream. All right, I'm going to change the angle on my close-up camera so you guys can kind of see a different view. I like to change the view of the camera so that you guys can see all kinds of different angles and things. It also makes editing a little bit more entertaining. I have a thermometer for my garage, but I haven't remembered to hang it up to see how hot it gets. So I just guess based on the temps you get. Right? Normally I use the temperature on my phone, so it's like, the Google temperature, and then the forge adds between 20 and 30 degrees to that, and that's all in Fahrenheit, so it gets pretty darn hot. But it's all right. I actually I prefer the heat to the cold, right? I would rather be hot and sweating than cold. I feel like I can't function when I'm really cold. All right, let's do another heat. So this is our new view. So we're getting a pretty good divot in there. So I'm going to start looking at the edges of this guy here shortly. All right, so for our next heat, I'm going to focus a little bit on the edges of the spatula. I want to kind of match the width of that central area with the fat edges over here, and then we will start focusing in on that center again. I want to get as wide as possible. I love being cold. Yeah, I'm so small that it's really hard for me to be warm when it's cold. Last winter, I started streaming out here in the shop in November, and about January, February, it started getting super, super cold, below freezing or well below freezing temperatures. And during that time, I was practically cuddled next to the forge just because I was trying to keep my fingers functional. Not fun for me. Have you ever used a power hammer? I have used a power hammer. I do not own one currently, but I have used power hammers in other people's shops. I oftentimes, a lot of when I learned blacksmithing, I learned at the Memphis Metals Museum, and they have a fully functional blacksmith shop, and they do hands-on lessons for blacksmithing there. They have 2 giant power hammers, and that was the first time that I was able to use one. I also have a few friends who have power hammers in their personal shops, and occasionally I will go and visit and get to use one of their power hammers. So I have used one, I don't own one. I do, however, own a hydraulic press. This one is one I made probably 10 years ago. Back then, it was a little bit more challenging to find plans and to find hydraulic presses to begin with. That was before coal forge became a thing, or at least a widely known thing. I think they were actually around, but I think that they were kind of just getting started and putting together their presses. Bubba says they hate the cold. I mean, yeah, I hate the cold too. I don't know. I know that there's only so many clothes that you can strip off to keep cool, and you can always put on more clothes, but I just can't function when it's super cold. All right, I think I'm gonna do another heat. Like I said, this time we're gonna focus on the edges of the spatula. I want to see how long, or I guess how wide I can get the blade. Well, we might go back and forth a little bit to see, if we can get it as wide as I want it. I'm looking for a spatula about yay wide, so that it is about the size of a good, burger, about yay big. I know that's kind of a small burger, but it's a good enough burger for me. All right, so we're gonna use the round side of the hammer. dragging blow. All right, we're not getting quite as much width as I'm wanting, so I think we might just go back to using the cross peen. But we're gonna keep on keeping on. Have you calibrated your eyes to temperature from color? Oh, to identify temperature through color. I can tell about how hot something is by the color of it. But I can't tell you the exact temperature, if that makes sense. I knew a long time ago, like, more specific temperatures versus color, especially when I was doing a lot more tempering for knives and things like that. But I don't do a lot of knife making anymore, so I don't remember the exact temperatures. I mean, I know that I'm looking for a bright whitish yellow for, you know, when I want to pull it out for forging. And I do, by sound, I can tell how high I want to keep my forge. And that sound is actually while I have the headphones on. So what I'm looking for when I decide when to take the spatula out is when the blade of the spatula, or the portion that I want to work on, is the same color as the inside of the forge. Then I can pull it out, and that's the temperature I want it to be. Who got you into this? I actually got into blacksmithing because one of my ex-boyfriends was really into blacksmithing. We were not dating at the time. That was after we had already broken up. But he was incredibly into blacksmithing. And we were both metal artists at the time. And he's like, you already like fabrication and welding. Why don't you try blacksmithing? And so he dragged me out to his workshop where he did a little bit of blacksmithing. And then from there, I kind of went and found some other blacksmiths, and I went to the Metals Museum in Memphis, Tennessee, and I watched a whole bunch of YouTube videos, and here I am. A lot of what I learned from YouTube or from just trying things myself. I have had a couple, about the equivalent of maybe a month of formal training, or more formal training, I guess, under a professional blacksmith, but not a lot. And they were only in like 1 week segments. So it's kind of like more like workshop learning. Like I said, a lot of what I have learned is come through trial and error. So you can, I have videos on my YouTube channel of some of the trial and error that I go through when I am learning how to do a new process. Like when we were, a few weeks ago, we were making what should have been a folded axe. That's right there. I failed at the forge weld, so we're gonna have to try it again at some point in the future. Sometimes I do succeed. I made a lot of mistakes while making this hammer, but in the end, we made a functional hammer. So, I mean, sometimes we get some good results, sometimes not so good results, but it's a lot of learning. But yeah, I got into it because of an ex-boyfriend. I mean, I guess that seems pretty typical, you know, since I'm a girl. Blued red metal. Hello, Ray. I watched another TV show where they were trying to locate an Iron Age forge. They used powerful magnets in the dirt they dug up to see if they could collect scale to give them an idea if they are in the correct place. They were. I mean, that's definitely a good way to find a blacksmith. I mean, if my shop is any indication, I mean, we've gotten all this just from the floor in front of my anvil. That's all scale, come off of pieces of steel. I need to sweep my shop. But yeah, lots and lots of scale. It's kind of annoying anytime you want to use a magnet in the shop. Tongs, the classic smithing tool, probably drifting around topics. I mean, yeah, tongs. I make a lot of my own tongs because, you know, why buy a tool when I can make it myself? I mean, sometimes it's good to buy a tool, and I will buy a tool, but sometimes I make my tools. Let's do another heat. We're starting to focus in on these edges to try and widen out this spatula. I do need to be a little bit careful that we don't end up knocking our edges out of parallel alignment. So that's what I'm doing right now, correcting. So we're getting there. Not too bad. It's still, we've got plenty of thickness still. So I think I'm going to go back to that center and see if I can't get a little bit more width. Like I said, I kind of want this amount. So we've got about an inch left. And I think we can do it. We might just get a half inch though. We can get some width though. Cast iron swage blocks, yeah. A bit much for a home setup to make. Yeah, I have a cast iron swage block over here behind this door that I do use occasionally when I need a swage block. I like to use it because there's a couple divots in there for rivet heading, and it makes it really, really easy to make rivets. Or at least the heads of rivets. I'm not amazingly good at rivets in general, but, you know, I do my best. But yeah, I really enjoy blacksmithing. I love metal in general. It's kind of one of my special interests. When I started in metal, I was more of into fabrication, of welding and cutting and things like that. And then I kind of moved on from there to more intricate, like blacksmithing work. I also am a journeyman jeweler, so I can also do some of the same stuff that Kiri does. I'm not as in practice as Kiri is, so I'm sure I'm a little bit rusty. But I was a professional jeweler for quite some time. So sizing rings, making custom jewelry, setting stones, things like that. I did that as well. So I kind of combine a little bit of everything. I also do a little bit of silversmithing, so that's like vessel forming, taking a flat sheet and turning it into bowls and vases and cups and things like that. So lots and lots of different metal. Oh, you can make jewelry. I can. I made my own wedding bands. I never really wanted an engagement ring. I'm not really into the, you know, solitaires or, you know, the more elaborate pieces of jewelry, but I did make my own wedding bands. I made them out of sterling silver and brass, and I made a mocha magane inset band, and then I wrapped them in sterling silver. So they were pretty cool. I believe there are pictures of those on my Facebook. If you're interested in seeing what those look like, they were a twist pattern. But I also worked for Signet, which is a jewelry repair conglomerate. They own many, many jewelry stores in the United States and even into Europe. They own Jared, Zales, and Kay's. I was one of their repair technicians. Oh, making bowls takes forever. Did you prefer to expand or compact the metal? Compact. So how I do my bowls is first I will stretch them on, well, here's a setup kind of, right? So this is the beginning of a bowl, right? So I take a sandbag, like a round sandbag, and I'll put it here, and then I will stick this on here and use a ball peen hammer to kind of hammer it into a vague round disc or like rounded shape. And then I put it over top of stakes, which are similar to the horn of an anvil, and I kind of collapse the material in on itself. So that's called raising. If we were stretching, it would be called sinking. So I start by sinking a little bit, and then I raise the rest of the way up. We will be doing some bowl raising in the future, but I have to continue setting up my silversmithing and jewelry bench. So do look forward to that, but it's not something that's going to happen in the immediate future. So it looks like we got about a minute and 45 seconds to 2 minutes or so before our next ad. So let's see if I can get my next heat out in that amount of time. I should be able to. Alright. Back in the heat. We're making it. We're getting there. Another thing I need to get back into, tried making a simple Spangen helmet, but that was a decade ago now. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where you have to make time for your hobbies. And sometimes that gets really hard. You know, life gets in the way a lot of the time. So it can be difficult to make the time to do your hobbies. All right, I'm gonna move the camera again so we can get another good view. Just in time too, because we've got another ad. So let's move the camera over this away. And make sure I don't trip over the cables. so that it's not in the middle. There we go. So it's not in the middle of everything. There we go. Right now, I got stuck making wooden handles for medieval utility bags. Interesting. I don't think that's something that I would have guessed, you know, that would be a thing. But I mean, I guess that makes sense. You know, you screw the bag onto the handles. I could see that. But yeah, there are definitely a lot of different hobbies. I mean, I also have a lot of different hobbies, you know, and a lot of stuff just gets shoved out of the wayside just in order for me to do work or, you know, life stuff. I myself am kind of terrible at woodworking. I do respect woodworkers, and I know it's one of those things that if I made time to practice it, that I would get a lot better, but I don't make the time for it. So good on you for making wooden handles. I mean, one of my other hobbies is sewing, you know, so, but I never make time for it. Stitch or loop, yeah, you can have very simple loose bag with 2 wood panels and the top with a drawstring. Ah, that makes sense. I've seen those, I think. They're kind of like carpet bags, right? That's kind of how I imagine it, at least. I would love to see some pictures of your work. If any of you have, you know, artistic work, I would love to see pictures of it. The best place to put that would be in my Discord. There are links on the channel page that you can take a look and join the Discord, you know. I definitely appreciate seeing people's work. I love it. Predecessor to it, at least. Okay. Okay, I can see. How are they doing over there? Looks like they're still cleaning up the first house. They destroyed 2 houses on that side of me today with a backhoe. They kind of used the little like clampy diggy tool, and they just sort of like destroyed the house from the roof. It was kind of crazy this morning. There's a video of it on my Instagram. All right, let's do another heat. All right, that's an okay view. I can do that. Not too bad. We're getting a pretty decent amount of width. I'd like to widen it a little bit further, and we've got a little bit more meat to go. So we're going to heat this back up, and I think I'm going to go from the cross peen to the regular rounded peen hammer. Clean that up a bit. Found a pair of panels that belonged to my great-great-grandfather. Was making replicas of those, but people wanted fancier models. Interesting. Sometimes I wonder when they destroy old houses if there's ever any good material to salvage from it, given the opportunity. And it depends on how the house was built, but usually, yeah. So most of the houses in my neighborhood are brick. So, and they were built in the 1940s to 1950s. So there isn't anything good like wrought iron or anything like that. But I mean, there's copper, there's wiring. Um, you can salvage that stuff. I mean, I think they took out most of the good stuff, and they destroyed the rest of it with the backhoe. It's a modern thing, so just scrap everything. Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Here in the Midwest, there aren't very many houses that are really, really old. I think the oldest that we really get a lot of times is like the 1890s. For the most part, there are some more historical locations and buildings here and there, but a lot of the really historic locations in my area specifically are no longer around. Whether because we are in tornado areas as well as like flooding, so a lot of them were destroyed over time. Yeah, but houses that are that age are practically energy inefficient or partially, and they are. I know the meth heads in some places will strip an abandoned house of its copper. I mean, they definitely will, and there is something to be said about recycling copper. It is copper and aluminum are some of the most efficient recycled metals, and it's relatively easy to recycle them. Now, I don't recommend recycling aluminum cans yourself because you start with the aluminum cans, and there's just so much wax and paint on them that when you melt them down, you get so much dross that you lose most of your material. But if you are, if you are an industrial recycler, it's super efficient to recycle cans and things like that. Um, they can retain most of the material, and yeah, it's a good industry. Better to pull it down and start again. Yeah, they're pulling down the two houses on that side of me because they're going to turn them into tennis courts and like pickleball. Um, because there is a recreational like health club on the other side of them, and that health club is expanding. It is owned by the city, so those two houses they bought them kind of eminent domainy, and I guess they were stopping at our house because I got to keep it. I'm sure they gave some money to the families that own those houses, though. All right, let's do another heat. We're flattening out all of the high spots, and that's going to give us a little bit of extra width as well. But yeah, not bad. A little bit longer. I think that's a pretty decent spatula. We've got a little bit of extra width in there, and I do want to fix that, or not fix it, but I want to reduce it just a little bit, just because it'll be a little bit easier. to use. Not too much. But we're getting there. Oh, the metal melters. I'm curious about aluminum melting, what to make. So like I said, if you are melting aluminum, a lot of times when you're watching the YouTube home recyclers, they will start with like 6 or 8 garbage bags full of crushed cans, and oftentimes they'll only really get a couple muffin tins worth of aluminum ingots. So you got to be really careful, because the aluminum cans themselves, interior, like the inside is waxed so that the soda or liquid inside does not erode the aluminum cans. So there's kind of like a little bag inside them that's like attached to the aluminum on the inside. And then there is also a bunch of paint on the outside of the cans. So if you're melting them straight up, all of that material will kind of pollute your aluminum. So you have to keep scraping it out over and over. And so you inevitably end up scraping out some of your aluminum every time you take care of the dross. So that's how you lose a lot of material. So keep that in mind if you are trying to set up some aluminum recycling or like can melting. No, I can get 0.10 odd per can. I have wheel rims. Oh, okay, cool. So there are a lot of other material or like items that are aluminum, and you could get a lot more metal out of them, but cans is really inefficient. But that's always what I see on YouTube, people recycling cans. And then they get like, you know, a muffin tin worth of aluminum ingots out of it. So we're going to spend another heat, maybe 2, working on the blade of the spatula, and then we're going to start working on the neck. I want to widen it or like lengthen it just a little bit more, thin out the neck so that they match the other 2 pieces of our grill set. And then we're going to twist the handle. We've already made ourselves a little loop on the end, so we're going to twist the handle. And then, you know, we'll have a full spatula. Wednesday's stream will be a set of grill tongs. I've got a design in mind that I'd like to do. We're going to start with a 16-inch section of 5/8 inch square stock. 5/8 square stock is 15.88 millimeters. And then 16 inches is going to be 40.64 centimeters long. Ah, too bad I missed you making the tines. Yeah, I did. You can watch the VOD if you like. I have a video on YouTube where I'm just making the tines. That one should come out. What day is it going to come out? Tomorrow. It's a YouTube short on YouTube. It will come out on, I think, Wednesday on TikTok if you like TikTok. But yeah, I go through the different steps on making those tines. Otherwise, like I said, you can watch the VOD on Twitch, or you can watch it up on YouTube. That would have been Wednesday of last week's VOD, so it would have been uploaded on Thursday. I made a couple, but I kept getting a sharp wedge in between them. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's really easy to do. So you got to be a little bit careful. See, I cheat a little bit I use an angle grinder to separate my two tines, and that makes it a little bit more clean, or like the look. And then when you separate them, you can kind of use the horn of the anvil to kind of thin out that center section in between the two tines. All right, I'm gonna do another heat. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that spatula. We're gonna take one more heat and kind of focus in on making these edges parallel. And then we're gonna start working on this neck section. I've got a little bit of a twist there. I might go ahead and untwist that so that we can kind of draw that down a little bit further, and we will keep on keeping on. Work smarter, not harder. Only hot chiseled the tines. Yeah, when you hot chisel the tines, the problem is a hot cut and a hot chisel, instead of actually like cutting the material and eating away at it, it actually preserves the material, but it also ends up ripping that section. So you kind of get a little bit of extra flashing there that can cause some issues. It's really hard to clean that up without using, a grinder of some type. Or you can also do the same thing a little bit more traditionally by using rasps and files. So if you don't want to go the route of an angle grinder or, a bench grinder or whatever, you can definitely use files to clean that up as well. Welcome in, Yankee. Yankees raiding. Welcome, Raiders. Welcome, welcome. So today we are continuing to work on our spatula. We are almost done widening out the blade. I gotta make sure that the sides of it are a little bit more parallel. But we are currently doing a full grill set. So we have done a fork and a steak turner. So we have the spatula and a set of grill tongs left to go. And so I'm having a blast doing this. It's really cool being able to finish the projects really quickly. So welcome to the stream. How are you guys? Yankee, what did you make today? Or what did you do today? Were you out in the garden? Welcome, welcome. Ooh, I don't have any water. I need to go grab some more. So I am Ray. I am a blacksmith. And I enjoy sharing the art of metal creation. Or I guess metalworking. I don't make metal. Nature does that. Or I suppose like a collider. You could do it that way, I guess. So yeah, I am a blacksmith. I've been blacksmithing for about 10 years. I am a little bit rusty because I did take a 5-year break. But I've been back for about 10 months. So we're almost at a year at this point. I'm pretty excited about that. We started streaming and coming out here in November. So in November, it'll be a year. And I will have made affiliate in January, I think. You know? And that's all you guys. So thank you guys so much. I think on Kiri's channel, we once came to the conclusion that these houses are not destroyed, but uncrafted. Makes sense. You uncraft the houses instead of destroying them. I mean, then you're like using whatever material you can get and making other things with it. So welcome, guys. If you have any questions about blacksmithing, our project, or me, do let me know. I am always happy to answer questions. So thank you, guys. We are going to do our last heat on the blade for now. And that is to work on making the edges parallel. Got to be a little careful doing this though, because if we're not careful, we end up folding those edges, and we don't want to do that. We want to make them nice and parallel and kind of upset them back in on themselves. Upsetting is the process of hammering material back on itself. All right. Not bad, not bad. So I'm gonna clean off the blade a little bit. We got some scale developing, and scale is what we call hot rust. All right. So what we're going to do next is we're going to start working on the neck of the spatula. I want to thin that out, make it look like the rest of the tools in this set. I didn't think this stream would be upsetting. I mean, I knew that there would be a little bit of upsetting because, you know, there's always at least a little bit of upsetting in my streams. I absolutely love dad jokes, puns, and other things like that. So if you got some good jokes, corny jokes, make sure that they're kind of wholesome. You know what? I think I might actually move this camera over here because we are going to be focused in on the horn of the anvil to kind of draw down that neck a little bit. Whoops. Definitely should have focused that before I hit record. Am I in the middle of the video of the screen? Am I? I am. Move back just a hair. Goodness gracious. One of these days I'll be a little bit more organized about things. Upsetting, that is a blacksmith term. I think you hammer on the end. Yes, you hammer the material back in on itself. So for this particular spatula, we started with a section of 5/8 inch square stock, and that is 15.88 millimeters of square stock. And we actually heated up the end and hammered it in on itself. So that actually increased the width of that piece of steel. So we actually increased it to about 1 inch. And that would have made it be close to 20 millimeters-ish. If my math is probably completely off on that. Anyway, so yeah, that's how we got as much width as possible. When I start with a normal, with the default section of steel, I only get about this much right here of spatula width. So I wanted to get a wider spatula, and we've definitely almost doubled that width. If you start your day with a groaner, everything else is funny in relation to it. Yes. Yes. I do. I love the dad jokes. That's one of the best parts of this job. You know, you guys come in here with like all these dad jokes, and I find them funny, you know? Alrighty. Let's do our next heat. Okay, we can do that. We can do that. Like I said, we are going to be focusing in on the neck of the spatula. I'm going to start by attempting to kind of unroll this a little bit. We got a little bit of spinning there. Not too bad. We've gotten a little bit of that roll out. Back in the heat. And the goal is to widen out that neck. I'm glad we have a similar sense of humor. I enjoy it, man. I enjoy it. So we have an ad starting in about a minute and a half. It's actually more like 2 minutes, because it gives me this little timer that pops up, and then when the timer is up, then it just kind of hangs before it actually starts the ad. So I don't know. It's so weird. And then I also never know if you guys are seeing the ad or if you're seeing the little ad, or if you're like Twitch Turbo. So I try very hard not to do my heats during the ads. So we will definitely be finishing this spatula today. So Wednesday stream, we will be starting to do the tongs. Like I said, it's going to start with a 16-inch long piece of 5/8 inch stock that is 15.88 millimeters in width, and then 40.32 centimeters in length. For those of you in the more civilized areas of the world. I've got an interesting theory on how I want to make this. I kind of want to thin out the center area and wrap it around the horn so that it kind of closes. And we'll see if it works the way I think it's going to. Welcome in, Christy. Welcome in. So once this ad is over, I will do our next heat. Like I said, we're going to be drawing out the neck a little bit more. I want it to be somewhat similar in width to the rest of the pieces, but it can be a little bit wider because, you know, you've got to get a little bit of extra weight into it from the spatula itself. don't want the spatula to bend very much, except for where we want it to bend specifically, and those bends are going to be relatively solid. But yeah, so like I said, Wednesday's stream is going to be grilled tongs, and then we are, on Friday, we will be moving the stream to Saturday. Saturday. How long have we been streaming? I don't even know. An hour and a half. Ooh, we're making really, really good time on this spatula. I might actually have to start on the tongs today, because I don't think this is going to take as long as I thought it was. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. I have a bunch of questions about welding. I have never played with a metal hot glue gun. A metal hot glue gun. I mean, I guess I have heard it called that, or not heard it necessarily, but, you know, thought about it in that way. If you do have questions about welding, I can probably answer them. I'm not amazingly, you know, the best welder in the world, but I do know a lot of theory about it. So, I mean, you can go ahead and ask the questions. If I don't know the answer, I will probably direct you to a website or something that you might be able to find more information on it, or on the topic. Like I said, I'm not the best welder in the world, but I'm good enough to do a bead here and there, or a tack, you know. But yeah, you feel free to ask about welding if you'd like. If you'd like to hear about it. Let's do another heat. So what I want to do next is kind of take care of this little weird goober right there. That's a lot of material, and I want to thin that out a little bit. It's a bit of a weird transition. A good welder is proud to show off their beads. That's why I grind. Grinder and paint makes me welder, or makes me a welder, I think. See, I try very hard not to actually have to, you know, grind my welds as much as possible. The prettier they are, the less you have to grind, and I absolutely despise grinding in general. But yeah, I do have a few welders around. Over there is a 140 Lincoln electric flux core welder. Then I also back here have a stick welder. I mostly use the flux core welder, but you know, I do have the stick for when that just won't work. Like I said, I'm not really, like, you know, the best resource for instruction on welding, but I know enough to get by. And I guess getting by is all you really need as a blacksmith. or a fabricator, unless you're like, making large scale sculptures that need to be engineered. That can become a problem. You definitely want to make sure that your welds are good and on type when you are doing a large scale public sculpture. Because you definitely do not want a kid to like climb on your sculpture and then get injured because something broke. If they get injured because they fall off your sculpture, that's not your problem. But if it breaks or falls over, that is your problem. I'm definitely a minimum wage welder. I don't know. It's been a while since I've like really done beads, like full beads. Most of my welds these days are mostly tacks. And I mean, some of my tacks are pretty ugly, so I don't know. Maybe I'm less than a minimum wage welder. I don't know. I've never actually met a blacksmith that was a good welder. Well, I take that back. That is a lie. One of my friends who learned blacksmithing was a welder before he became a blacksmith. He welds like train cars back together after they derail and or crash. So he was a welder before he was a blacksmith. So he is a good welder and a good blacksmith. But, like I said, he was a welder first. Structurally binding, yes, that's probably the word that I was looking for. You definitely want your welds to be structurally binding for if you're doing like large scale public sculpture. I will also say that it is really good to have your large scale public sculptures insured, so that if something does happen that is beyond your control, that you don't get your pantsuit off of you. All right, let's do another heat. D&D Colorado, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the community and welcome to the stream. I am so grateful to all of you guys for your support. Not bad at all. It's a much better transition. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm thinking that the next thing that we want to focus on here is taking off all of these corners, right? The rest of our grill set the necks of them are rounded. So by rounding off, or like by hammering on the edges or like the corners, you kind of flatten them out, turn it from a square to an octagon, and then you take the octagon and you turn it into a round. What was that metal sculpture in Fight Club? I don't know. That is a big emote. The whole world. Regarding welds, my new weird interest. There is a channel doing reviews on historic welds, such as on a submarine. It's oddly interesting. That would be interesting, and you would have to be super good at welding in order to make those welds on a submarine because of the excessive pressure that you get deep in the ocean. So the deeper you go, the more pressure is pushing in on those welds, and if they're not strong, you're not gonna have a good time. So yeah, it is super, super good. Oh, the Gigantify and emote. Thank you so much for those 30 bits. Thank you for your support. I guess I didn't realize that I had that active. I mean, it's kind of active by default, so I shouldn't be surprised. But thank you so much for that support. Yeah. We are, like I said, we're getting really close to being done with our spatula. I don't think it's going to take us an hour, though. So we'll see what time it is when we do finish, and possibly start by cutting and, deburring our next piece. We shall see. Yeah, he noted the welds on the pressure vessel were really high quality, while the outer plating didn't take the pressure, were all over the place. I mean, yeah, it's like, there are certain parts that you have to be particularly careful on, and then other parts that aren't going to see that pressure, you just want to get them done because you've got deadlines, So I'm not terribly surprised, So if you are interested in historic welding, you should actually do a little bit of research on forge welding. It is a process of fusing metals together using just the heat and hammer blows. I think it's really interesting, that and space welding. So if you have clean, like immaculate metal, if you have two like pieces in space in the vacuum, if they touch, they will fuse, which is why the rockets and the International Space Station and the spacecraft, they need to be painted on the outside, because you definitely don't want to run into a piece of metal that's like immaculate and just have random chunks welding to each other. Forge welding is a very similar process. You do kind of get that extra heat, and the flux will create a fusion. Then there is tin whiskers for electronics. Metals do strange things. They do. It is so interesting to me. Metal is one of my special interests. I absolutely adore it. All right, I'm gonna move my camera one more time and do a couple more heats. And I'm not entirely sure where I want to move it. Maybe over here again. I guess we're gonna move it over here. This is a pretty decent view of the horn of the anvil, but also a little bit of the center area. And then we're going to do another heat. Stay. All right. So like I said, we are going to be taking the corners off of this guy so that we can round it out. It also has the added effect is that it tends to straighten things a little bit. Or sometimes it tends to straighten it. I don't know. It's being dumb. We're going to do one more heat of rounding this neck, and then we're going to twist the handle. So yeah, we're getting really, really close to finishing up this piece. But yeah, so I'm thinking we're going to do one more heat on rounding out the neck of the pieces, or like the neck of the spatula. Then we're probably going to do 2 heats of twisting the handle. And then we're going to do another heat where we are straightening things up, tightening up the shape of the hand or of the spatula. And then from there, we're going to shape it, because like every spatula kind of has a few folds or curves in it to make it a little bit more ergonomic. So we're going to do probably 4 or 5 more heats. And from there, I'm going to assess what time it is, you know? But we've got about 45 minutes left in our allotted time slot. We'll have plenty of time to finish it. We might have a little bit of extra, though. So I really enjoy, as far as welding, I really enjoy MIG welding, but I feel like that's like the easiest type of welding, you know? You've got the gas to shield your weld so you don't have as much spitting, or you don't have to, you know, use the weld hammer to knock the scale off of it or anything like that. It's just like easy welding. But I mean, the best welding is oftentimes TIG welding. But TIG welding takes some skill, like super amounts of skill. So, you know, I've never actually done TIG welding. I've only ever seen it done. I had a demonstration by my sculpture teacher back when I was in school, but I like never actually did it myself. I think it's because we were told that we couldn't TIG weld by ourselves our first time. We had to have the teacher with us when we did it for the first time, and I never could get my schedule to line up. So on Monday, like next Monday, a week from today, I guess, if I am still in a place where I can stream, there is a chance that I will have to cancel Monday's stream because we are doing the Ohio Quad State trip. But if I'm in a place where I can stream, I am planning on doing a whole bunch of forge welding. So we had that stream that like we failed the forge weld for the axe. And so I really, really want to get comfortable forge welding. So if I know, or my partner is going to be home on Monday because they don't go back to work after Quad State until Wednesday. So I'm hoping that if I'm, you know, if I'm up and at 'em, we will do a bunch of forge welding. It'll be forge welding 2 pieces of mild steel together. We're not going to do any forge welding on high carbon steels or anything like that, so no Damascus making. But we are going to be doing some forge welding, so maybe making some basket twists or some like hooks that have forge welds in them. So yeah, I want to get really comfy with forge welding. So that is my plan if I can manage to make it happen. There is definitely a significant chance that I will have to cancel that stream because I'm planning so much stuff happening on Saturday and Sunday that I don't know if I'll be able to do it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm able to rest enough that I can do Monday's stream. Mild steel requires a hotter temperature, so maybe the axe would be easier after some mild steel practice. That's the plan, right? I really want to try again with the high carbon steel after I get comfy doing mild steel. But I mean, there's always a chance that I will just like fail miserably the entire day. But you know, we're gonna spend the entire day trying, and it's gonna be similar to our nail stream where we spent all stream doing like one process. We were just making nails. We made 22 of them, and so we'll spend an entire stream just attempting to forge weld, as many as possible, just to get comfy with it, so we can start over on that thing. All right, let's do another heat. All right, not bad. Trying to straighten it out just a little bit. We've got a little bit of shifting that direction. But I think what we're going to do next is we are going to flip this over like so. And we're going to twist this guy. So that means I need to reset up all my stuff. New camera angle and everything. I got done with work and I came back and it's looking very spatula-like. Yeah. That's the goal. All right, so I'm going to modify my camera angle so that we are able to see over here at the post vise. I think it's going to take us about 2 heats to do this, because that's about how much time it's been taking for our twists this time through. All right, there's that. Hopefully it works. I gotta remember that I twisted this direction, so counterclockwise for all the rest of my spatula, or I mean all the rest of my drill tools. So that means that I need to make sure that that is the direction that I twist the spatula in. Let's get our twisting tools ready. I think we're good. Good to go. I think it'll look all right. Definitely. Should be a fun time, though, twisting this. All right, are we ready? Let's do this. We definitely are. Let me make sure I've got this in the right section. Yes. Move this over here like so. Ooh. This is definitely going to take 2 attempts because my fan is blowing directly on it. So that's not a good thing. We definitely don't want that to happen, but it is currently happening. So definitely want to twist it this direction. All right, I'm going to need to heat it up again. Like I said, my fan is blowing directly on it, so we didn't get near as much twisting as we needed to. So we got about a quarter turn. Definitely need more than that. And I need to move my fan. If you have fans at your house, you gotta watch out for paparazzis. I know, right? But then, you know, where there's paparazzis, there's Lady Gaga, right? You gotta be careful with that, too. So, we've got another ad coming up. So once that ad is done, I will do my next twist. And that way it gives us enough time to heat up that handle. I'm hoping that we'll be able to get a full twist. I've been doing about a twist and a quarter turn. And I think that should be pretty good. We'll kind of judge it by eye. It may take us 3 attempts to twist this. Then we're going to do a couple more heats here on the anvil to kind of shape it, make sure that it is ergonomic and it's going to feel good to use the spatula. It is, I'm out of water again, so that's my 3rd one. So I'm going to grab a Gatorade. I will be right back. Ooh, red today. Red is my favorite Gatorade. Water sucks. Gatorade is better. I mean, water is great. I love water. It's just that I need to replace the electrolytes and salts as I'm sweating them out. Gatorade has too much sugar in it, like overall. It's like soda. And while I love me some good soda, definitely need some water to, you know, cut it. You must not have seen Waterboy. No, I didn't, actually. I still lived in my parents' house when Waterboy came out, and I wasn't into going to the movies myself yet, so I never saw it. I'm also not really a Adam Sandler fan. I don't know what it is. I mean, I did appreciate 50 First Dates, but like a lot of his other movies, I never really got into them. But yeah. What is that? I've got a notification in my inbox. What is this? Nothing too good. Nothing good. Just more weird sponsorships for gambling games. All right, so we are currently on ad time. So once that's up, I will do my next twist. I moved my fan so that it is pointing lower, so hopefully it won't be blowing directly on my steel. So it should theoretically be a lot easier for it to twist. Let's do the twist. So I think that we are a little bit too late to start a new piece. So once I'm finished with this spatula, like I said, I've got a couple more heats after this twist so that I can kind of shape it and give it a little bit more ergonomics. But after I'm done shaping it, then we're probably going to end the stream for the day, and then we will start fresh on Wednesday. Now, there is also a chance that we will not finish our talks on Wednesday, and if that's the case, then it will be a week later on that Wednesday that we will be starting to do the rest of the talks. When you hit your next subscriber goal, you should do the twist on stream. Not the blacksmith twist. Oh, the dance? You want me to do the dance? I mean, I guess I could just like, you know, like, is that what you're looking for? I try not to do too terribly many, you know, performing monkey things, but like, you know, it's fine. I can do the twist every once in a while. All right, let's do another twist on the vise. Ugh. There we go. Make sure it's nice and tight in there. I want to do it this way. I got scale falling off on me. Yowza. All right, I'm gonna heat this back up again one more time. We're gonna do a quarter twist. That way the hook is perpendicular to the blade of the spatula. I know you guys can't see it, but I can. I want to make sure that it's all nice and lined up, just like the rest of the pieces for the set. And then we'll move on to shaping. We're getting there, guys. Not too bad, not too bad. The twist. I dropped my twist bar. There we go. stick that back over there. That can go back under there. But yeah, we're getting there, getting there. I hate having to like switch my hands because when my bottom hand is at the bottom, then there's scale constantly falling off and then it burns. I hate it when it burns. I have a pen that can write underwater. It can write other words too. That's cool. My partner used to have a space pen. Those things are really cool. Most pens need gravity to function so that the ink will go down into like the ball or like the nib or whatever. But space pens don't actually need the gravity. So it allows astronauts to write in pen up in space because, you know, they don't want to use pencils because the pencil breaks and then the graphite just starts floating around places. So yeah, they want to use space pens, and they don't. Regular pens don't work up in space. That pen got stolen though. It was a really nice pen, but you know when you leave writing utensils on your desk at work, somebody inevitably comes along and like picks it up and pockets it, you know, or borrows it and never returns it. Not cool, right? All right, let's do one more spin. One more spin. Round and round and round she goes. Where she stops, I guess I know. At least that's how it's supposed to be, right? There we go. Why did I grab that? I don't know. I don't know why I grabbed that. This direction, guys, this direction. All right. That's where we want it to be. Nice and down. Beautiful. Now I've got to kind of fix the blade of the spatula a little bit because the blade is a little bit twisted. So I definitely want to make sure that the blade lines up as well. So that's our next heat. All right, I am going to move our camera so that we can get a nice view on the face of the anvil. I think they're done cleaning up for the day as far as the houses, because they have not touched the second house yet, and the dudes are not there anymore. Or like the guys that were working. There's a whole bunch of guys. So we'll probably do 2 more heats on this spatula. One to kind of straighten things up and one to kind of shape things. So once those 2 heats are done, I will be rating off. So if there's anybody that you guys would like to watch after this stream, please do let me know. Otherwise, we will find a friend. Sometimes we find a friend we already know, and sometimes we find a friend that's brand new. I have to drop out. Thank you and have a nice day. Thank you, Sandwich. Thank you. Have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you later. What's your favorite finish to use on projects? My favorite finish to use on projects is not to use a finish. I am the laziest blacksmith. I tend not to actually finish my projects, but if I am trying to finish my projects, like, you know, if I have to, I will oftentimes just use like what is it called? I don't even remember what it's called. It's wax. Oh, it's paste wax. That's what it is. I'll use paste wax. Unless it is a utensil, then I will use beeswax because it is food safe. I don't currently have any beeswax, but if I had, or, you know, if I need it, I will acquire it. I have a couple of friends who have some and can, you know, help me acquire it. But yes, paste wax is oftentimes my favorite. But forge scale also has a tendency to keep things relatively clean as long as they're being used. If it just sits there unused, or, you know, then it does tend to rust. But if an object is in use, then oils from your hands and forge scale oftentimes does preserve it for the most part. Other finishes that I have used in the past is brassing. So if you heat a piece of steel and then you brush it with a brass bristled brush, some of that brass will transfer onto the surface of your steel, and that makes a really pretty color. But yeah, usually it's like a wax. Sometimes I will just oil things. But yeah, I'm kind of on the lazy side. I have also been known to just use Krylon spray paint that is specifically for use on metal. It just depends on like the look I'm going for. All right, let's do another heat. That's about how I want it to be. But now I need to straighten it out a little bit. If I look down the barrel of it, not too bad. All right. So we're pretty straight. So what I'm going to do next is we're going to reheat this, and then we are going to put a curve in this neck area. I want it to be curved so that it's, if I hold it this way, that the spatula itself is kind of flat. So we will be doing that over on the end, or the horn of the anvil. Jeez Louise, I am starting to get tired today, apparently. So we've got one more heat. Like I said, this heat is going to be to kind of shape it and give it a little bit of ergonomic flair. Oh, I'm looking for my Gatorade, and it's over by my computer. Man, I was actually able to stretch out the stream. I mean, I didn't intend to do that, but, you know, I guess I did it anyway. So, like I said, this will be our last heat. I will be raiding off after this heat. So, if, like I said, if there's anybody you'd like to raid, please do let me know. I will see who is around in a few. All right, guys, let's do this. One more heat. One more heat. Alrighty, guys. I think that's all she wrote. So here is our spatula. It needs a little bit of cleanup, but not too bad, not too bad. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful rest of your day. It's really looking like a spatula now. Yes, it is. I think it looks like a spatula. Looks nice. Thanks, guys. Ready to flip some patties. Yes. You guys have an amazing, I wanted to say weekend, but that was like, last stream. So yes, have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you guys on Wednesday. Let's see. You know what? It helps when I turn on my outro, guys. It helps when I turn on my outro. Looks like we get to find someone new. Happy autumn. What do we make it here? It's like maybe some woodworking. We are going to raid Brock's H. This is a new creator. Looks like we're making maybe a handle of something. A little bit of woodworking, maybe some carving. Let's check them out. Thank you guys so much. I will see you guys on Wednesday.